What's going on, guys? It's Izzy, and I just wanted to touch on the Manchester City game against Brentford that I didn't have an opportunity to talk about because I was working my 9 to 5. But I noticed something about City on that day that I felt I really need to share, and it was something that impressed upon me by their performance that I thought was absolutely fantastic. And it came in 3 stages. Now, Manchester City are a team that don't like to be very emotional when they play, and having gone down 1-0 to Brentford, you would have easily seen some teams that know that they are in competition with 2 other phenomenal teams in the league, and quite possibly Aston Villa and Tottenham in that run, and you would have expected Manchester City or another team in that position to have possibly given in to the emotional side of the game. But the methodical way that they executed everything that undoubtedly Pep Guardiola wanted them to do was impressive. But anyway, guys, it's Izzy. And if you're new to the channel, please consider hitting that like and the subscribe button to let YouTube and everybody else know that you are enjoying this content. To everybody who's been supporting the channel, I would like to thank you so much. And everybody who's a new subscriber, welcome to this community. I'll do my best to make sure you enjoy every bit of it. Now, Manchester City were playing against Brentford on Monday night, having seen Arsenal beat Liverpool 3-1 the day prior. And one of the things that had been circling around, and something that I also thought when I watched the Arsenal win on Sunday, was that victory for Arsenal was going to be pivotal for Manchester City, because this brings them into a position where they are quite possibly just 1 win away from being top of the tree again. And one of the things that Manchester City have defined themselves on over the last few years is their ability to be relentless towards the business end of the season. When the game started, one of the most important things that we knew was that Mark Flecken was going to have the game of his life to keep Manchester City at bay. Why? Because this game, for the very first time in a while, welcomed back Erling Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne in the exact same team. So we all know what these 2 people can do on their individual basis, but whenever you team them up together, Manchester City are a complete force. So the game began in earnest, and you would expect that Brentford, being the home team, would pick out whatever chances that they can have against Manchester City, but of course they would be pinned back because the overriding knowledge is that Manchester City are so powerful. But Manchester City's plan did not go exactly how they thought it was going to go, and they eventually conceded to Neil Maupay. And Maupay was a player who was given the opportunity to score because of Ivan Toney's great work. He was able to keep Manchester City's players preoccupied, letting Maupay steal in, get a one-on-one chance with Ederson, which he converted with poise. Now, the thing about Manchester City that I noticed from this game was that they're a team that don't panic. And they didn't. They just kept on going the same way they were for the first 20-so minutes, when they were just prodding the ball around and looking for any small mistake that Brentford could make. And I would like to liken Manchester City to a boa constrictor. See, they decided to scope out their prey first, because having gone a goal down, you would know that they are at a deficit. They need to make up ground on their prey. So they just kept on prodding the ball around. And eventually, when Phil Foden did get the opportunity to score, it was from a gift somewhat from Brentford, because Ethan Pinnock could possibly have headed the ball behind, maybe tried to head the ball to his goalkeeper. Either way, it was a difficult ball for him to deal with. But the fact that when they let Manchester City in, you almost felt as though this was the moment that the boa constrictor had caught its prey. Eventually, a boa constrictor does as its name supposes. It'll start squeezing the life out of you. They began the second half with a certain control that Brentford were not able to get back into. And by the time Foden had made it 2-1, Manchester City's imposition on the game was so stark that Brentford had no air. Manchester City's 1-2 punch was so quick, Brentford didn't know what hit them. The thing about a boa constrictor is that the more you try to escape its clutches, the tougher it is to get air in. And Manchester City kind of gave Brentford the thought that they might be able to get away from this. So eventually the boa constrictor lets you wiggle yourself around a little bit, but the only reason it does that is so that it can fasten itself around you even more. And that's exactly what Manchester City did, because Brentford had a flurry of opportunities that could have brought them back into this game. Ivan Toney went close within a shot that was a one-time hit from a cross over from the right-hand side. Maupay went close, but the ball was blocked. And I think Ederson would quite possibly have saved the ball anyway. But Brentford looked as though they might get something out of this game at that point, and Manchester City had just sat back a little bit, and it's almost like they were toying with their prey. In the 75th minute, Foden made it 3-1. His hat-trick was complete, and Manchester City had finally suck the life out of their prey. Manchester City is a team that relies a lot on control, and teams such as Liverpool and Arsenal do have an emotional way they go about their business, but Manchester City are a machine, and the fact that people label them a machine makes sense because machines don't have emotions. And the only times we've ever seen Manchester City in a position where they have to relay their emotion is usually at the end of the season. You can remember the Aston Villa game where they had to come from 2-0 down, and emotions can swing you one way. They can either give you the result you want or they can put you much more into the mire. And Manchester City tend to use that to their benefit. Now, because of how good they are, it's very hard to see them capitulate. And that's what ended up happening at the Aston Villa game. So when Brentford were already 3-1 down, they almost seemed as though there was no hope for them whatsoever. And the rest of the game just petered out because Manchester City are just that good. They will hold the ball, and by that point, the prey is dead and it's on to the next meal. And that's what Manchester City tend to do. It's going to be very hard to see anybody keep up with them, especially when they're in that mood. And Phil Foden was the star of the game. He scored a hat-trick, obviously, so the output was very visual. But the thing that impressed upon me the most was just how methodical they were in executing Brentford. It was a 3-stage game. They first scoped out their prey. They led them to believe that they were able to escape. Then they constricted them with a very quick snap, as would a snake. After it was 2-1, they almost gave Brentford the impression as though they might be able to get into the game, and they almost lulled them back into sleep, and then they put the last ringer on them, squeezed the life out of them, and after that, Brentford really didn't do much towards the end of the game. And for that to be an away fixture for Manchester City just tells you how dominant they are. It's very scary to see a team that has that much poise and that much control. It doesn't bode very well for the rest of the league because everybody's trying to stop them from being four-peat champion, but it's hard to envision how another team would be able to stop them when they're in this mood. We only have about 16 or so games left until the end of the season, and for them, a 16-game winning streak is not that hard. They are going to be able to do it. But I was impressed by what I saw from them. I think that much of the topic came from how Phil Foden was able to arrest the game. His ability to read the game, both attacking and defensive-wise, is going to be very good for Manchester City and for England when it comes into the Euros. I think that he probably gets shafted a lot when he doesn't play for England. Southgate seems to prefer other options in what is a very talented England squad. But overall, Manchester City are going to be hard to deal with. I think that has always been the knowledge throughout the whole league. But the thing that makes them so impressive is how they go about it. Machines don't have emotions. Manchester City don't go about the game in an emotional way. We saw last season how it caught up to Arsenal, and we've seen it catch up to Liverpool a few times. But Manchester City just go and execute, just like a surgeon. They are so clinical. And you give them one sniff, one shot. Once they catch you, it's deal done. But anyway, guys, it's been your boy Izzy. I just wanted to touch on this Manchester City game that I wasn't able to talk about. I think that they're a wonderful team. Brentford gave the best they could, but eventually it wasn't enough. Manchester City are the juggernaut that all of us know them to be. But anyway, guys, it's your boy Izzy. Thank you for watching this video. Go ahead and hit that like and the subscribe button. And until the next video, I will catch you next time. Peace.